Good morning. Monday morning again, and here we are. I have traded in my healthy little smoothie that I normally get for a hot chocolate. It's just too cold. Melbourne is chilly today. Those in Tassie or other parts of the country that are even colder, put a scarf on. Hats out to you. It's really chilly. So, Monday morning, I wanted to talk to you today about storytelling. And I'm just looking at myself and feeling I should apologise for my hair. It's been one of those mornings. Sorry, couldn't do anything about it. This is me. Cray cray. Ridiculous morning, but hey. So, storytelling is one of the most important elements of your business for you to master without sounding like you have to be an author, which sounds like a totally weird thing to say. So I thought, I've been getting quite a few questions over the last couple of weeks about who I am and what my story is. So I thought today I would talk you through how I got to be where I am today, and what that has taught me about marketing and the brand and the importance of storytelling as well. So I'm Emily, for any of you who don't know me. I am a business marketing coach, and I help small businesses grow their businesses to be even bigger. So generally work with people who have been in business for sort of 1 to 3 years, I guess, and who have been doing an amazing job on their own, but just need an extra bit of support to piece it all together. All the pieces are always there. It's just about gluing them together so that the picture looks beautiful, and that's where I come in. So I certainly didn't start out as a teenager thinking, oh, I'm going to be a marketing coach. That's what I want to be when I grow up. I actually didn't think much about my career until I was about 15, when I was forced by high school to do year 10 work experience. And at the time I had no idea, as most teenagers do. I was just going to grow up and have millions of dollars and live the life, not realising that you had to actually work and do things to get there. So I went and did work experience in a florist. Now, totally random, I know. All of my friends went off and studied or did work experience to be a vet or a doctor or a businesswoman or something like that. And I thought, no, I'm going to be a florist. So that was fun, to be honest. And I stayed on working in one of Melbourne's biggest florists for nearly 8 years. Nuts, I know. The most beautiful creative environment that you could possibly imagine. I was surrounded by people who were madly in love with their profession, not getting paid millions of dollars, so it wasn't about the money for them. It was all about the passion and all about the joy of the daily ritual of designing these beautiful bouquets and selling them on to people. So the creative environment there certainly got me thinking that, there might be more to life than just sitting in an office and doing all that sort of stuff, which is what my mum was doing at the time. And again, it was kind of the first time I'd actually started thinking about my career. So at the end of, when I finished high school, I then realised that I actually didn't have any business skills. Surprise, surprise, as a 17 or 18-year-old. So I enrolled, I did quite well in year 12, and I enrolled to go into uni, and I studied marketing. I had a plethora of part-time jobs in university. I was a waitress, a swim teacher, a babysitter, a netball coach, a rowing coach, like nuts, did heaps and heaps of stuff just to earn some money. All while working in the florist, convinced that I was going to buy my own florist and own my own florist. And then my third year of university, we were forced, or encouraged, not forced, to go and do a full year work placement. So I had to finish my job at the florist and get a job in the big wide world. And I went and worked at SaraLee Household and Body Care. So I went from this stunningly creative, beautiful environment to one of the most unsexy businesses in the universe, because I'm not talking about SaraLee Bakery. We did not eat ice cream and desserts all day, which, gosh, it was devastating. I worked on White King bleach, Kiwi shoe polish, and Ambipur air freshener. So quite possibly the most unsexy categories of the supermarket that you could ever come across. However, I quickly realised how easily I could translate my existing skills and my existing passions into a new environment. And SaraLee was awesome for me in building relationships and setting those foundations in place. So I really learnt the 101 of the business world. I did my time at the bottom of the food chain. I spent copious hours working on really mundane tasks that were, however, pushing me forward and building my skill set. So it was really a foundation there, and very financially driven, so I got some great skills around financials there as well. from there, desperate for some creativity and for some fun and excitement, I went and worked in advertising, which had kind of always half been on my list of things to do when I grow up. And I got a job in, again, one of Melbourne's, at the time, biggest advertising agencies. I was a graduate. I went back to uni and studied a bit more in direct marketing and content marketing. And again, bottom of the food chain, but I was working in Melbourne's biggest advertising agency at the time. So the concept of work hard, play hard absolutely came to life in that environment. And I was exposed to clients and parties and events and situations that most, whatever I was in my early 20s, wouldn't be exposed to. I made awesome friends and I worked really hard, but loved every single second of it and got to see a really different side of marketing, obviously heavily anchored in comms, but the importance of communication. And this is when my love for storytelling started to come to life. It was really all about how do brands position themselves in the market? How do they bring that to life? And how can they best encourage or incentivize or excite their customers to come and pay or spend money with them rather than with their competitors? When I was working in advertising at George Pat's, I also met my first mentor. Now, he, and still does to this day, really did shape the young adult that I was becoming into the woman that I became and who I am today. So he was the first person that had actually taken an interest in my career, had asked me some really challenging questions, which now I laugh at, but where do you want to be in 5 years' time, and how do you love spending your time, and what are your superpowers? All of which I was like, I've got none. I'm at the bottom of the food chain. But he was the first person ever, outside of my mum, who started to encourage me to map out what my career was going to look like and to put an active plan in place to help me get there. So if I had a few ideas of where I wanted to go, but I was sort of like, I'm never going to get there. Excuse me. And he was the first person that actually said, no, you can get there, and let's put that plan in place. Your next job should be this. After that, you should go there. And to be honest, that's what I did, and that's where I got to, and that's how I got to where I was today. So from advertising, I realised that I wanted to be back in the marketing side of things. I wanted more control. The control freak in me kicked in, and I wanted to do the comms as well as the new product development, the innovation, the consumer insight. So I wanted to have a much broader view of a consumer's journey with a brand and how a brand brought that to life. So I went back into marketing and I worked at Kraft Foods, which at the time, it's changed a lot since then, but was one of Australia's biggest fast-moving consumer goods. And I worked on Philadelphia cream cheese. Now, huge American organisation at the time, and very, very, very heavily anchored in consumer insights and foundational work. So everything we did was templated, it was very structured, lots of red tape, which at the time was a little bit frustrating, but in hindsight, looking back on that experience, that's where I really kind of pulled it all together and started to realise I could see my own potential and I could see where I wanted to go in the years to come as well. So very structured, but found like beyond fantastic grassroots or foundational work for me as a junior burger. Like I started there as an assistant brand manager, bottom of the food chain still, bounced around a little bit at the bottom of the food chain trying to find my slot on the ladder. And when I got to Kraft, it was the first time where I was like, oh, actually, I want to get there next, and then there, and then there. And I started to put that into place. I also got really impatient, which might be a generational thing. So I left Kraft because I wanted to be promoted and I had an opportunity in another organisation. And I went to L'Oreal, which in my head was the best of all worlds for me. It had the creativity and the fun factor that I was really looking for, and it would help me bring together the foundational work that I had set up for myself at SaraLee and Kraft, and piece all of those pieces together. Again, it was part of my career path, or part of the path that I had put into place to get myself further up that ladder, or further where I wanted to go. So L'Oreal taught me more about myself and about my skill set and about my resilience and my ability to stand on my own 2 feet than I ever thought possible. If I'm really honest, I thought I was going to L'Oreal to work on cosmetics, get some free lipstick, and go to some cool events like L'Oreal Melbourne Fashion Festival. Golly, and anybody who worked at L'Oreal with me who's watching this, I'm sure you're laughing on the floor right now, and I totally understand why. L'Oreal was the hardest place I've ever worked in my whole entire life. It taught me more about myself than any place anywhere else ever has. But it was also some of the best years of my life, to be honest. And I just got sucked into the vortex, which anybody who works there can completely understand. It was a really fun, extremely fast-paced environment, and you were working on the world's biggest beauty brand. So every consumer in Australia, not every consumer, but women were lining up to get their hands on L'Oreal products. We were going to an amazing events, and I really felt like I was steering that brand forward, and I was in control. Which at the time, working on such a global brand, such a huge footprint with such amazing products, it really kept the fire in my belly burning probably rather than boiling, and absolutely kept me motivated. I worked 15, 16-hour days all day, every day. Many a time my partner said to me, "What are you doing? Who are you? Can we hang out? I've totally forgotten who you are." And it was only when I had my first son whilst at L'Oreal, I was on mat leave, I wasn't at L'Oreal, and I came back after that time. I actually did a quick job at Mattel, but I won't bore you with that now. But I came back to L'Oreal and I was bullied. So for the last sort of 18 months of my time at L'Oreal, I worked under a really tough management team, and I was really openly bullied. So my manager used to often say to me, I was the marketing manager of Lancôme at the time, so again, massive beauty brand, and my leadership team would say, you can't be working on Lancôme, you're not glamorous enough and you're not beautiful enough to be working on this brand, which is probably should be 27 other Facebook Live topics, because that experience within itself taught me, so much about myself. Hence why I left the organisation, and I left on a low point, to be honest, which was quite disappointing and has taken me quite a long time to get over. I dedicated my life to L'Oreal for a really long time, and I loved every minute of it until I got to that last 18 months. I just had a baby. I'd realised there was more to life than the daily grind. And then I had this workplace that I dedicated so much of my time and energy to, telling me that I wasn't good enough to be in the role that I was in. It just wasn't a nice feeling or a nice place to finish. So we'll talk about workplace bullying another time, but for now, L'Oreal taught me a phenomenal amount about myself and also about brand storytelling, how the emotional side of things comes into play, and how women get turned on by the land of cosmetics and the land of transformations and becoming somebody you're not and all that sort of stuff, whilst constantly surrounded by amazing people. And some of my closest friends today are still the people that I met whilst at L'Oreal. God, who pulled me through the mud and helped me get through that crazy time. So resilience and friendship would be the big two things that I take out from my time at L'Oreal, and brand storytelling as well. So I then had a quick hop and a skip and a jump into the land of Lion Nathan, back into the food industry, and I worked on Yoplait yogurt, again, French. I don't know what it is about French brands, but something obviously resonates with me. I need to work on my French. And Lion for me culminated all of my experience into one. It gave me the creativity, or it enabled me to pull together all those pieces, the creativity and the foundations of my marketing, my team leadership. I managed a really big team while I was at L'Oreal, and I got to do that again at Lion. Not a huge team, but great group of people. And it really felt like, or it does, Lion still values its people like nothing else, and they are really at the heart of the organisation. And that's really what I needed, having come from an environment where people were not the heart of the organisation. It was all about the product and the bottom line and the P&L. And Lion really enabled me to realise that there were people in senior management who cared about me as a person, not just work hard, work hard, work hard. So I still do. I love my time at Lion, and I'm still learning lots whilst kind of juggling it all. And it was during my time at L'Oreal where I started this little passion project, being my own business, which is nuts in hindsight. Even just saying all of this out loud, I don't know how I possibly did it, but I did, because I had this interest in my own business. And after having my first bub, I kind of started to think that, gosh, how do people balance work life and family life, and what am I going to be doing in 10 years' time? And I'd got to the end of that career map that I'd put in place, and I was kind of like, well, what's my next move? And where do I go now? And how do I move forward, and all the rest of it? So I really organically had a few friends of friends contact me whilst at L'Oreal and go, oh, so you know how to do marketing? Can you help me with this? Or can you help me build that? I'm starting my own business. How do I do a marketing plan? Or how do I... Oh, sorry, go away. how do I bring to life my business, and how do I best drive that emotional hook with consumers with that brand storytelling. And that's how my business started. I literally had a few people contact me. I took on a few clients here and there. I went and studied a little bit more in my life coaching and the psychology piece because I was fascinated by that, and I'm obsessed with learning. And that's how my business started. And that's how my business continues to grow today, to be honest. I harp on a lot about marketing, and I do market myself, of course. I put myself out there. I proactively try and demonstrate to you all who I am and what my skill set is and how I can help you build your business. But at the end of the day, word of mouth marketing is really important for all of us, and that's where the customer experience and the testimonials come into place as well. So throughout that journey, excuse me, what did I learn? And that's like a 3-hour conversation, to be honest. But I just wanted to talk you through who I was so that you can get a bit of a better understanding of what Emily's all about and where I've come from, some of the experience that I've had, and some of the things that I could help you build your businesses with. I naturally now have a handful of skincare and cosmetic clients just because of my big business experience. Similarly with fashion, having worked so closely with that whilst being in cosmetics and Lancôme as well. And that's just my skill set. And food would be the other big one as well. And mums from that experience as well. So as far as brand storytelling is concerned, what I learnt throughout all of my career is that not every job is going to give you every single thing that you need right here and right now. As long as you're moving forward and you're progressing, it's doing the job for you. And you just need to kind of manage your own expectations, I guess, around, I have my own business now, it's going to tick every single box and it's going to be hunky-dory, and that's not always going to be the case. It's going to tick some of the boxes and it's going to help you move forward, and that's great because you're moving in the right direction. And then as you get further down the path, it might tick some other boxes for you, and that's awesome, as well as building the momentum and pushing you forward as well. I strongly learnt through all of my career to be a really great listener and a lifelong learner. So hence I've gone back to uni a couple of times now and kind of filled a few of those pockets. I'm not talking about 4-year degrees or anything, just certificates and the like, just to continue to build my skill set. And personal development's huge to me, and I love the self-awareness of understanding where my gaps are and what I can do to move forward and help fill those gaps. And that journey within itself helps you when I come to you and help your business in helping you identify where your gaps are, and at the same time helping you realise that you're not hopeless because you don't know how to do X, Y, and Z. It's just you haven't had exposure or experience with that as yet, and that's where I can come into play and do that. So as long as you're always taking baby steps forward, you're winning, I guess. So as far as brand storytelling is concerned, the big things that I wanted to summarise today was telling stories builds memories, and it builds memories in your consumers or your customers' minds. When we're teeny tiny babies where we know nursery rhymes off the top of our head and we do actions and all that sort of stuff because it builds memories in our own mind, and that stays with audiences, so that the next time you pop up in their Facebook feed or you send them a blog, they don't instantly read the blog. They go, oh, that's Emily. She's the one that used to work at L'Oreal. Oh, yeah, cool. Read the blog. It's just that memory structure that you start to build in your audience's minds that sticks with them and that stays with them. Frog, really annoying. The other thing that storytelling does is it motivates people, and the success of the global success of TED Talks is, a perfect sentiment to that. If you don't watch TED Talks, you really should, and maybe I might do something separate for you guys on TED Talks, because they are motivating like no man's business. And all of TED's talks are all just anchored in brand story or in storytelling or personal storytelling. People getting up on stage, talking about their hardships, talking about what they did and how they got through that, what they learnt and where they are today. It's all just storytelling. And yes, those people have amazing stories to tell, but we all have amazing stories to tell. Probably not what I've reflected today, but even within my own story, there's lots of little facets that people are fascinated by, and similarly with you. And that's what I work with my clients on. I have a lot of clients, and if you're watching, you know who you are. Oh, I've got nothing to say about myself. I'm really boring. I don't have any stories, and I've got nothing to share with my audience, which is a lot of crap, to be honest. And I work with my clients on bringing those stories out and helping them learn within themselves that their story is interesting to somebody else. So they're motivating. Storytelling or telling stories is motivating, it's exciting, and it just helps you to start build those relationships. It sometimes positions you as being a little bit vulnerable, and there's nothing wrong with that. That vulnerability endears people to you and makes them realise that you too are human, and that's a bloody good thing. And that's why we connect, and that's how we build those relationships with one another. And particularly in a service-based business like myself, I could come on, and a lot of business coaches do, I could come on and talk to you every single week about marketing content. Pick a different topic every week. Hi, today I'm going to talk about content marketing, content. Next week I'm going to talk about Facebook. Then I'm going to talk about Instagram. How do you write a bio? Blah, 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 blah. It's just jamming content down your throat, or jamming new ideas, or, the same stuff that you could find on the internet down your throat. But if you're able to do it with an emotional hook and a little bit of brand storytelling or personal storytelling about yourself, you build relationships so much quicker than if it's content. So you make your content more interesting by demonstrating a little bit of your own human edge or human essence, I guess. And you bring your personality and yourself to life. And by putting yourself on the line, I'm not suggesting you come on here and talk about the death of your dying father, or, anything that's going to make you too upset or devastated, or anything that you kind of can't relate back to your business. Because whilst we all have those stories, and I have those stories myself, people don't want to get bogged down in the huge emotion. They just want to know that you're human, that you understand where they're at, that you've been there before, and that you know how to pull them out of the quicksand, or you know how to push them forward in their business, or how to help them choose the best pair of jeans, or which sandals are going to suit their chunky ankles better. Totally random example. But it's just that kind of personable relationship building that's going to help you endear and build a connection with your customers, so that next time they choose and they want to choose you, so that when you pop up in their Facebook feed, they go, oh, that's Emily. She's the one that worked at L'Oreal. Oh, I love what she's doing because she's so good at this. I'm going to send her an email. Job done. So this week, it's a really big topic. I totally get that. But I just wanted you to start thinking about what stories you could be telling in your business, and what stories your audience might like to know or like to hear about who you are as a person, as the business, or the brains behind the business as well. So it's not all just about pushing product. You've got to connect with your audience, and an awesome way of doing that is through storytelling. And there's some brilliant, some hugely successful people out there who do exactly that. Richard Branson, for example, I know everyone pulls out these massive examples, but all of what he tells is all anchored in his story, how he came to be where he is today, and how he got through his hard times, and how he came on to be a zillionaire today. And I can relate to him on so many different levels because of the storytelling along the way. I obviously can't relate to him because I'm not a billionaire myself, but knowing that he had those little pockets of hardship along the way, and that he was able to pull himself out, ask for help, put his hand up and go, I need help here, bring in an expert, whatever it might be, that's how he got his success, and that's how you can have your success too. So this week I just want you to start to think about what little stories you could feed or sprinkle throughout your content. Again, you don't have to pour your heart out and do this big, write a whole book about it, but I do think it's critically important for your audience to understand who you are behind the business, and what makes your story interesting or your business more interesting is absolutely you. So this week, comment below. I'd love to hear what you thought about my crazy story, if anyone can relate to any of that, and also, have a start to think about what stories you could be telling your customers that would help excite them and get them to understand more about you and why you do your business the way you do. Have an awesome day. I've got a jam-packed day of clients today. Actually, I've got one right now, so I've got to fly. But I'm here all week, so just shout. If there's anything I can help with, keep brand storytelling on the to-do list, and just have it ticking along in the back of your mind. Have a good week. Bye.